Blech. So Scream Factory had a Fly box set, okay? And this box set had sold out pretty quickly. It was hard to get for a good price. I was like, I need to have all the Fly films. And so it was going out of print or something. I was able to snag a copy. And I was like, all right, so I guess I'll be watching The Fly, even though I don't remember the last time I watched The Fly. So this was kind of like a bit of a bogus revisit. It wasn't exactly revisit because obviously it wasn't like I was almost watching the film for the first time. I've seen The Fly many, many times. And I was thinking, and here's where I made a mistake, big mistake. I'm thinking, my 9-year-old son has watched Aliens. He's watched Predator. He's seen a bunch of stuff. He could handle The Fly. And I'm like, I'm kicking myself now because I completely forgot some of the stuff that's in The Fly. There's, some nudity. There's some of that stuff, which wasn't great. So we had to cover his eyes or pause or fast forward during those elements. But particularly, despite the fact that my son had seen Alien and Predator, he was so off put by the body horror in The Fly. It kind of fucked him up. He's okay. Of course he's okay. It was kinder trauma, but he was not, it was really cool to watch him watch it because it was just interesting. I'm so far removed. It's hard for me to think about what my reaction was to The Fly when it first came out. You know what I mean? Or when I first saw it sometime on TV or Sci-Fi Channel. And I told him, I was like, well, if we watch The Fly, we have to watch The Fly 2 because The Fly 2 ends on a happy ending. And I haven't watched it yet. So more on that to come. But the original idea was that we were going to watch The Fly and then The Fly 2. And that just did not happen because my poor little son just couldn't make it to the end. He just couldn't do it. He got right up to when what's his face, John Getz' character, the Stannis, I think his name is, gets his hand dissolved. Right before that happened, I paused it and I said, look, you've had a hard time with the arm wrestling scene where Brundlefly breaks the arm. You had a hard time with the pus and the fingernails. You're not going to be able to handle this. So I sent him to bed basically when we got to the end, because it was too sad and dark for him, even at 9. Not a good idea. That's where, I start to question myself, my judgment. I was like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? So he went to bed and he was okay, but he was a bit freaked out. So I had to sleep with him. I had to lie down with him, make sure he was okay. We paused, we talked about it. I showed him a lot of behind the scenes footage so he could see, because he was like, it's so real, Dad. It's so real. I'm like, dude, why do you think this is real? But Alien and Predator or not, they're all roughly have very effective kind of special effects. The Fly is one of those remakes from the 80s. Here's the thing. Remakes in the 80s were really fucking special. I mean, really special. There's the golden trifecta, though, that stands above all else. And we talked about this before. You have 1982's The Thing by John Carpenter. You have The Fly, made in 1986 by David Cronenberg, produced by Mel Brooks and Brooksfilms as well. And then you have The Blob 88, which we talked about, I think, last year. Directed by Chuck Russell, co-written by Frank Darabont and Chuck Russell, the guy who would go on to direct The Mask. This is the golden trifecta of 80s remakes. And even though it came out in 78, you can throw Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78, which also has Jeff Goldblum in it, and Donald Sutherland, of course. You could throw that in the golden era of remakes. A lesser known one is Invaders from Mars, is pretty great, but with what's his face, James Cameron, and Little Boy, and directed by Tobe Hooper, which is a movie I think he made when he didn't end up making Return of the Living Dead, right? I think that's how it worked. When Seth Brundle makes a huge scientific and technological breakthrough in teleportation, he decides to test it on himself. Unbeknownst to him, a common housefly manages to get inside the device and the two become one. It's a brilliant premise, man. It's It's so brilliant. And the original Fly is a bit different, but kind of, similar sort of idea, or at least core concept. The idea of like a teleportation device kind of turns into a gene splicer sort of situation. And Jeff Goldblum and Geena Davis, they're brilliant. And John Getz is great because he's playing like the douchey ex-boyfriend boss. But in the end, it's like he's a good guy. Like he ends up being kind of a good guy. It's a guy who saves the day, or yeah, he does save the day because he shoots the pod and causes he causes Brundlefly to fuse the pod. I forgot that like there's a moment where he realizes that he is not Seth Brundle anymore. Seth Brundle ceased to exist the moment that he came through the other side of the teleportation chamber, because he literally is the offspring. He is the fusion of Seth Brundle and a fly. And now the fly's DNA is starting to slowly express itself, causing him to undergo a tragic, horrifying transformation. And that's the other thing too, is it follows in the same tradition as like all the monster movies of the universe. It really is. It's almost like it's a modern Universal horror movie, just in the same way that Pumpkinhead is, and in the same way that Castle Freak is. Yeah, that's right. Full Moon's Castle Freak. I call these films, these are neo-Universal films, right? So the Fly fits in that mold. The idea of like all these neo-Universal monsters, they all follow the core concept that was first sort of synthesized in Beauty and the Beast. The idea of a Beauty and the Beast, and the Beast is monstrous on the outside but human on the inside, and generally speaking, not in this case of the Fly, but generally speaking, it's always some human that's more monstrous than the monster itself. The monster is more human than the human is more, and the human is more monstrous. That's the sort of exchange. And then there's the beauty that goes with it. And the beauty is the love interest, the unrequited love that can never be because I'm a monster and you're not, that sort of thing too. I mean, what's there not to say about the Fly? It's brilliant, man. It's brilliant. It's different. I think, you really, this Fly is supplemental to the original Fly, and the original Fly is supplemental to this. This is a great example of a remake coexisting with the original in a way where, of course, people are always going to make comparisons, but by and large, like, it's just sort of they go hand in hand with each other in great ways, in great kind of ways. So, the Fly, saw the Fly. We'll watch the Fly too at some point, and then there's also the Fly, the original Return of the Fly with Vincent Price. Yeah, Return of the Fly. And then there's also Curse of the Fly, which I haven't seen Curse of the Fly. So I'm excited for those. We'll get to some. I want to get to some black and white movies this year. Haven't yet. I think I'm gonna watch The Black Cat soon from 1934. Val Lewton.